Hey everybody, I want to share a story about the power of music, and most specifically the power of melody. The pure power of a melody, not the lyrics, but the melody and the harmony. The things in music that aren't the lyrics, that make it music. And what I was noting at our show last Friday in San Antonio was how interesting, and this has always been, I've noticed this, that we forget the lyrics a lot quicker than we do, say, the melody. Anybody can kind of, la, 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 the chorus to a song they know, or even the verses, but somehow the lyrics don't stick in there as much. And so a friend and I were talking about that, and she started mentioning, she found an article that talked about how melody is using a different kind of memory, and it's a part of the brain that's an older part of the brain. Language came later. And so it's making me really think about music and the power that it has over us emotionally. And like, there's very few things in life that can alter our mood in such a way, and I really think this is true. I think, so the friend was talking about how before language, we had to communicate with movement and be able to use our intuition and in terms of learning about somebody or another human being or a situation. Let's just say human beings. We communicated with very subtle, non-verbal ways of communication. So music kind of accesses that to me. When I say music, I mean melody and harmony, not the lyrics. It activates that area of the brain in milliseconds. And in Bernstein's Norton lectures on music, he talks about this too, that in milliseconds we are able to understand on some might say a soul level or on an emotional level, things that would take much longer to explain with words. We can hear all these layers in the music. When I say hear, I mean hear emotionally and hear the beauty of that music. You could go back and try to explain it with words, and it would be fun to do that, but part of your brain is hearing it like that and getting it like that. So as I listen to music, let's say Paul Simon, his album, performing for New York City live, and everybody's cheering and getting into the music. It's a combination of the lyrics and the melody that is lighting something up in that human being, or in many human beings. So what happened at the show on Friday was I had a guest musician, Jonathan Rabineau, who's a singer, pianist, jazz violinist, and I asked him, I said, hey, do you want to sing a little bit of the High and Dry by Radiohead? Well, he didn't know, he couldn't remember the lyrics, but he could, no problem, he could remember how the lyrics of the melody were supposed to go. And he sang it with such emotion. The audience was so moved, and we were moved when we were rehearsing it. It's like it just took everything up to another level, having that human voice sing it. But then he had to use the iPhone to read the lyrics. But he knew the song internally, the harmony and the melody, he knew that without having to think about it. It was already stitched or tattooed into his soul or into his brain. So isn't that interesting about music? And I just think more and more about how powerful harmony, melody is in terms of the many different ways that it can light up. If you want to look at it at a scientific level, how it can light up or turn on certain hormones and chemicals in our body, feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin. I'm sure there's many other, the positive ones, the negative ones too, depending on the music. But how without even any words, it can completely shift in a millisecond our state of being. How amazing sound, and then specifically music, which is organized sound. And we don't really know fully how that works, but musicians and composers do. They know how it works. They can do this. They can sit down and improvise. a piece of music, around an emotion. And then, of course, different people will hear different things, different emotions, depending on the person. I mean, isn't that beautiful about music? Come hear us this Friday and see what you think, how we recreate and reimagine the music of Led Zeppelin at Casa de Luz with cellist Tony Rogers. And I'll be playing guitar and violin. The music of Led Zeppelin reimagined in a beautiful, calm yoga studio. You can grab a meal beforehand. We have 2 shows, 7 and 9:45, I think. It's at concertsinthedark.com. Concertsinthedark.com. Sometimes I wonder how these little talks would do as an ad. Maybe I should run it as an ad and see.